Welcome back. Last week you saw my interview with Street Smarts host Frank Nicotero. Well, we had such a great conversation, I could not fit it all into one segment.
You had to chop it up?
Chop it up. So here is part 2 with Frank Nicotero, and he has some pretty exciting news to start off this part 2. Take a look.
You've done a lot of stuff. What are you doing now? What have you done since then?
You know, we tried to do it. We did a pilot for a reboot of Street Smarts about 3 years ago. It was me in the field doing all the interviews, and then they had Jeff Foxworthy hosting the wraparounds in the studio, and they shot it in Atlanta. I've never seen the tape because they're like, well, it's a sales tape. We can't show it yet to anyone. So I haven't even seen it, but then COVID happened. So trying to sell a man on the street show where someone goes around the country talking to strangers in their face didn't really didn't sell right now. But I don't know if, I mean, it's Warner Brothers, so hopefully they're still trying to sell. It would be fun to do again. I mean, it was surreal to have the mic with the cube on it that said Street Smarts, and we shot up at City Walk, which is at Universal Studios, and there was a couple times where a woman walked by and was like, "Oh my God, Street Smarts! I was on that show 20 years ago." I was like, "Hey, how you doing?" So you know, it's kind of got a cult following. There's a lot of people on Facebook, like I said, that reach out.
It's kind of funny you bring up the reboot because I made a mental note. I said my final question to you was going to be, how can we start a petition to get a reboot of Street Smarts? Because you wouldn't believe how many people. So on my show, I've interviewed a lot of people. I posted a clip of us. And you wouldn't believe how many people like, oh my God, I love that show. Oh my God, I must have seen your episode. I mean, so many people loved it.
Yeah, you know, and it's always, it's one of those shows where people who liked it also had like a deep love for it. So anytime someone writes me on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, whatever, I always write back and just say, hey, look, I really appreciate it. And you know, a lot of the time it's, hey, I watched that growing up in high school or college, or you know, I met a couple people in the street. They're like, "Oh, I used to watch that after I'd come home from grade school or high school," and I'm like, "Oh God!" But but look, the fact people remember it and remember me, I'm always flattered. So it was a good time. I mean, we did like 800 episodes in 5 years. So I know that Warner Brothers has a YouTube channel that they're putting up. They were putting up several episodes a day for a long time. Nice graphics and by the way, on TikTok, I've been scrolling and all of a sudden there's me. So. They've chopped it up and there's clips on TikTok too. So it's always fun to read the comments and then I like it. And then people are like, wait, is that you? And I'm like, no, it's an imposter. Of course it's me.
Wait, you are so nice. Thank you so much for getting back to me. On a whim, I had told my producer, and he was like, do you think you could interview him? I was like, I'll Instagram him right now. And you messaged back, so you're so nice and so kind. You're like one of us, you know. That's why people like you, is because they identify with you.
Well, you know what, and I think that was, you know, I had read when the show was on the air, and a lot of the there were some reviews and stuff, and you know, the everyman approach, and you know, game shows in 2000, even then, were still, you know, kind of the typical game show host. So I was just, you know, this wisecracking comic from Pittsburgh who was very non-threatening on camera to people. So I don't think I never intimidated people or made them feel like if they missed an answer, they were dumb or something. You know, there's a lot of pressure. People are going to miss the easy questions sometimes because you got a crew around you. And then of course, as soon as we put the light on, people stop and go, what is this? You know, so.
What type of lime is named for the Florida Keys?
Lime key.
You know, flip that around.
Lime key.
No, lime key, flip lime key around.
Key lime. Key lime!
Yeah.
The way you worded it, you need to talk to the writers.
I didn't.
They were under a lot of pressure, and you got me sticking a microphone in your face. So people always did well under pressure, but of course you're going to miss a few of the easy ones here and there. But, you know, I just took that approach. You know, I was hired to write and produce the pilot through Scott St. John. He hired me, he said, hey, do you want to work on this? And then when we needed footage for the pilot, he goes, we're going to send you out into Burbank and you shoot some footage. And Warner Brothers kept checking out the footage and loved it. And they're like, hey, we're going to make him one of the field reporters because they were going to get 3 field reporters. I was like, this is great. So we were auditioning a bunch of hosts and comedians and actors to host the studio part. And one day, 2 of them didn't show up, but the execs were there. And they're like, well, we want to see how the show's progressing. Frank, jump in and host. Well, I went in and did a great job. And I had written the script. So yeah, I knew it. So, you know, so I was like, what? So they're like, wow, he was really great. So that's how they said, you know, then they told me you're going to be the only field reporter. And then, you know, a month before production, like, you're also going to be the host. It's going to be only you. So don't screw it up. Have fun. You know, and it was like all that. I was like, are you kidding? I thought it was just going to be a small part of it. Well, for behind the scenes, then I was on camera and then the whole thing. So it was crazy. I was in the right place at the right time. That's for sure.
That's very serendipitous.
Yeah, it was exactly. It was just wild. And I remember they told us right before the Christmas break, they're like, he called me into the office. He's like, you're going to be the field reporter and you're going to host the show. He's like, so go home for Christmas, have a good time. We start shooting in January. And the first 4 weeks of you shooting will depend if the show works or not. So don't screw it up.
Pressure.
So that was like,
Pressure.
yeah, it was a lot of pressure. But, you know, we went out, we had a blast, and we learned some things the first couple weeks. But then, you know, we found the right formula and how to find people. We just looked for the loudest, most, you know, person who was in a group of people, probably like yourself, who was probably the loudest and friendliest.
How do you think they found me? I'm very loud and obnoxious when I'm walking down Hollywood Boulevard.
And that's how we found the people, because, you know, it's all about, you want personality and you know, you want people who are going to have fun and not just stand there. And that's why you were on the show.
And it was a blast, a memory I will cherish forever. Frank, thank you so much for your time. You're awesome, my friend. I wish you nothing but the best.
Thanks. Same to you. And I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
Well, we'll look for him again then.
Yes,
that's
I'm
great.
hoping
Yeah,
that'll
that's
happen.
awesome. And I love that he's a regular guy, because really, we're all kind of regular people. We all come from everywhere. Even, you know, Brad Pitt is from here. I mean, I hung with
know.
Brad Pitt in the day, you know. Everybody comes from somewhere. I mean, that's why, you know.
Don't we all put our pants on one leg at a time?
Absolutely. You know, and so I don't, you know, worship.
Oh,
folks.
yeah.
But I appreciate people's talents.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
I appreciate people's success. And so that's a great thing.
And he was so nice. I'm hoping and praying that Warner Brothers does try to reboot it, because it's a very fun concept, and it's fun. It gets people involved.
Yeah, no, that would be great. And he still is, well, he's in L.A. now.
Yeah, he's in L.A.,
But
yeah.
he's from Pennsylvania.
From Pittsburgh. His mom still lives there. He just posted a happy birthday to his mom in Pennsylvania
that's
yesterday.
So cool. And he's a Terry Bradshaw fan. I saw his
He's a
jersey.
huge sports fan.
Yeah.
Huge sports fan. And he's just, like he said, he's non-threatening. He's just a nice guy.
Just a nice guy.
Just
He's
a nice
Italian,
guy.
right?
He's
He looks
just a
like
nice
he's Italian.
guy.
Yes, absolutely. Well, that's good. We'll look for that.
So look for that, yeah. And he was telling me too, I had to cut so much, it was probably like a 15-minute interview. And he was talking about all the fairs he would go to, and he just loves fair food. Then he'd go interview people at the fair.
I love corn dogs the most.
He said that his favorite food was the Minnesota State Fair.
Seriously?
He's like, the best food I ever had.
I don't think I've ever been to a state fair. Have you been to a state
Yes.
fair? Oh, maybe I have in Washington.
I used to go to the State Fair of Texas all the time.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So hopefully,
Good.
fingers crossed that'll happen.
We hope so. Looking forward to that. All right, guys. We'll be back right after this with Studio Smarts. Oh,
No pressure,
no
guys.
pressure.